Okay, so boredom eating, it's a real thing. And so sometimes we have to figure out, am I bored or am I hungry? Because those are two really very different things. Sometimes you're just walking by a cupboard that has those nuts in it, or maybe you have treats in your house, and that's just a bad habit, or you're bored, you're looking just for something to do. So I there's this quote that things are in harmony with it. Ooh, sorry. Here's a quote. The mind has a powerful way of attracting things that are in harmony with it, good and bad. So when you think about that, thinking about why you would be boredom eating. And so it could be stress eating. It could be, like I said, boredom, or you're actually hungry and you're looking for something to eat. It can also be that you have a really restrictive diet, and so you're thinking you need more, and those kinds of things can lead to the boredom eating. There's some studies out there saying that it's shown that some individuals are restricting foods and they're labeling them as bad when they might not necessarily be bad, but that can lead to over consuming during times of, again, stress or boredom. So to say like I'm not allowed to have something, like when you think about, like, as you're a kid, like, oh gosh, no, you can't have something. Of course you're going to want it, whether it's food or anything else. So that can lead to those restrictive diets can lead to the boredom eating. Having that balanced diet, like I said, if you're actually hungry versus boredom, your body's telling you something. So if you're eating a balanced diet and you're eating enough, hopefully though none of these, you're not going to be bored and you're not going to be hungry looking to forage something that's not there. So again, that balanced diet. And when we're thinking about that balanced diet, thinking about that plate method, and that we've talked about before, half your vegetables, your protein, and your starchy carbs and a little bit of fat, eating that way is going to make a difference in hunger, feeling restricted, and again, boredom. So, and I know that you started adding protein. Have you found that to be helping you at all?
Oh, it helps immensely.
Good. Yeah, just by adding a little bit of protein to that breakfast, there was nothing wrong with your breakfast, but you needed a little bit more, right? Are you finding you're more full?
I am. And
Good.
it lasts longer too.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. The other thing is even your snacks, when you're going back to that plate method, again, not feeling restricted, not being hungry, so that those aren't the things leading to your boredom, but making sure even your snacks. So say you were making a snack in the afternoon because you're not quite ready for dinner, but you're still hungry, still thinking about that plate method. What can I do? I can have maybe some carrots and some hummus and a couple of pieces of chicken or a little bit of tuna. You can even do like rolled up turkey breast. So there's nothing wrong with that. So making sure that you're still thinking about that plate method, even when your snacking is huge. As I briefly touched upon, that water, staying hydrated is going to keep you more full and hopefully less bored. The other thing is, like, maybe change up your routine. So say your routine is to, I don't know, put you in a situation where you're like, I might want a cookie. Well, maybe going for a walk instead of looking for something, which is easy to say. I always say, oh, do 3 burpees. You'll stop thinking about whatever it is you're looking for. But that might be true, right? If you just do a really quick run up and down the steps, and I know you don't have steps, this might not be applicable to you. And I don't know, maybe Alex does things like these already, but taking a quick run up a pair of stairs and down, just get your heart rate up, just stop thinking about it, right? It's going to be better than that boredom um, eating, and then changing up that routine. And remember, your routine is your life, is part of your lifestyle. So if you are in a pretty regimented routine and that's your lifestyle, you're just going to be able to stay away from those bad habits that are taking you to that boredom. I'm not sure if that really makes very much sense, but your daily habits, the ones that we're creating now, are going to be keeping you moving towards those goals of whatever it is. We're all different. I know some of my goals, I know some of your goals, but keeping in a habit is going to keep you moving forward towards that. Any questions on any of that?
Not directly on that, but what are your thoughts on cheese as a snack?
So if you don't have a dairy intolerance, there's nothing wrong with it. So many people do
Okay.
have a dairy intolerance. And then the other thought of that is, again, just keeping things in mind of portions, right? I personally can
Right.
eat a lot of cheese. So that would be something that I would have to like portion out, put on a plate and snack at it versus, you know, having a brick of cheese out that I'm just going to be good at. So there's no problem as long as you don't have a dairy intolerance or you don't want a dairy-free life, and then keeping it in check with portions. So if you're so if you're going to have cheese, what are you going to pair that with?
Actually, I pair it with peanuts, and I
Okay.
can't eat too many of them, but I do like that combo.
Okay, so can you add in some sliced cucumbers or maybe some carrots, things like that?
I could.
Yep. So going back to that plate method, which is again going to keep us full, you're going to have your vegetables, and then your cheese is going to be some protein and some fat, and then some peanuts. And again, as long as you're keeping in check with your portions, then there's no problem with it.
Okay.
We don't want to say like no cheese, because then, you know, say you go out to dinner and then the cheese is there, you might overindulge. Where if it's just part of your lifestyle, everything in moderation. Always thinking about that plate method is my big thing, so that your body is processing it well. And, you know, one of the other things is if you eat those vegetables first, then you might be a little bit more full and not eat as many of maybe the nuts or the cheese. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but just that the vegetables are going to be a better choice. Does that make sense?
Right.
One of the other things with boredom eating, so to speak, is that you want to be aware of your hunger and fullness cues. Remember, let me make sure I get this right. Our minds are always 15 minutes behind our belly. So our bellies say, I'm not full yet. I'm not full yet. We're going to keep eating. And then, and this is going on to more of a hunger cue versus boredom eating, but it still relates, right? So I'm eating because I'm hungry. I think I'm hungry, and I stop eating and I'm like, that's good. And then the next thing you know, 20 minutes later, I'm like, so full. Well, that's because your mind said you're full before that. Your mind didn't realize you were full, so it didn't stop you from eating. So keeping those hunger cues in check is always very good. And maybe stopping before you think you're full, and then letting your body rejuvenate. So that's a little bit off topic, but knowing those cues are important for the boredom and stress eating. When we are physically hungry, our body is in need of energy. So our body is saying, I need food. Sometimes we have to think about food as our fuel that we're using to get energy. So maybe you're tired, or your stomach's growling, or maybe even a headache. So are we getting enough meals and snacks? And when you're feeling emotional hunger, you might start to crave specific foods, like, you know, like, oh, I really want that macaroni and cheese or that milkshake or that ice cream, versus you're hungry and you're just going to get that proper meal. And that proper meal is not going to sound very, very appealing to you, because you want you want whatever your body thinks it's craving, but it's probably something different than that. So back to more boredom eating. I just think that sometimes finding something else to do, one of the things that I like to recommend to people is, especially at night, if you're somebody who is watching TV and likes that hand to mouth kind of thing, popcorn, they have those coloring books that you can use to color. Because maybe you're not, maybe you just need to be busier, right? So instead of scrolling on the phone, but using those coloring books or word puzzle or just plain out reading, those are always good things to do to keep your mind busy so that you're not necessarily bored. And those are also going to be healthy snacks for you. It's going to be good for that. Questions on any of this? Alex, do you have anything to add or?
Not really. I mean, I kind of agree with it. You have to make sure that like whether you're actually hungry or not. Sometimes I'm just bored and something sounds good. Whereas like you're actually hungry, you don't just want to be filling up yourself with like, I can eat a ton of carrots, but if I'm actually hungry, I should probably eat a meal rather than just like snack to kind of fill that up. But I think it's kind of working on like your hunger cues, like making sure, like you said, kind of getting in enough throughout the day, making sure your snacks are like appropriate. But sometimes it's just inevitable. Like I think sometimes when you're like very stressed out or something, it's easy to like, oh, I could just make pasta or I could just go pick up something. So it's also kind of addressing that and making sure that you're like dealing with your stress or if you're upset or whatever, and not letting that turn to food every time.
Yeah, we just need a break from work or life or whatever, and you think like, oh, I'm just going to go have a snack or whatever. But if you plan those breaks and you have a balanced snack, you're going to be more productive.
Right.
Yeah, so
making sure, like you're not skipping snacks or meals, because that will happen to me where I'll go too long without eating anything or I won't bring a snack with me, and then by the time I get home and take the dog out, I'm like starving and I just want to eat whatever is in front of me. So kind of making sure that you're, like if I'm going to be out of the house for a while, grabbing a protein bar or something and making sure that so when I do get home, I'm not so hungry that I eat, a million different things while I'm making my food.
Well, that's a really good point. I wanted to touch on that too, because how many of us you're starving and then you come home and as you're making your good plate, you're also eating a couple of bites as you go, and those all add up over time, like, and it's how many of those bites did you take and whatever, but yeah, that will add up. And then what if you do that every day, let's say, then if you think about through the week, how many extra calories that is, and even if it's coming out of your own refrigerator and it's good for you, it's still calories, and so it's still adding up. Or I know somebody in our group posted about this, like, and actually we've talked about it a lot in the gym too, but okay, you're making your peanut butter sandwich, putting your peanut butter, and then you lick the spoon or the knife or whatever, right? Again, not the end of the world, but over time, or maybe you just take a big spoonful in addition to it, those calories add up, especially when it's something like peanut butter.
I'm guilty of that one.
I mean, honestly, I don't know anybody who's not. Like, what's the saying? If a tree falls in the woods and nobody heard it, did it make a sound? Like, I don't know. If there's peanut butter on my spoon and it disappears, did I really eat it? I don't know. There's got to be some sort of funny saying, but we're all guilty of it. And it's just, I shouldn't say all, but many of us are guilty of that, and just becoming aware of that. And then a way to not have so much as you're putting on 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, right, onto your whatever you're putting it on. If you measure that out and then you lick what's actually there, you eat off of the spoon what's actually there that didn't get onto the bread, then it's not the end of the world. It's when you go back for those extra spoonfuls, because that's already made and now I'm just going to have one more little spoon because it's here and I'm hungry.
And the other thing would be to like not eat out of whatever container it is. So like if I'm making lunch and or like dinner, and I'm gonna have some whatever chips or some pretzels with my hummus. If I leave the pretzels out, like the bag out, I could just sit there and keep eating them. Whereas if I, you know, throw a handful on my plate and then put the pretzels away and go sit down to eat it, you're less likely to just keep snacking on them because they're not right in front of you. You actually put them out on a plate.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. That's very good. We have little ramekins, like if we're having whatever. But yeah, filling that plate, putting it away, and that's what you get. And usually you're full, right? I mean, after you eat it, you're satisfied, you had it, and you're full. Also thinking about that sometimes we need a break, and just making sure that our break is an intentional break, that it's a planned break. So I know this is for more people with desk jobs. Like I don't have this, and I know you don't, and Alex, you don't either. But like, say you're at your desk all day, make sure. I mean, I would tell you once an hour, go for that little bit of a walk. And when I say a walk, I mean just through the house, go to the bathroom, get a glass of water. Those planned breaks will make you more productive than just sitting there staring at the screen. And then, when you do those kinds of things too, you never want to feel bad about it, but you want to say, you know what, this happened and let's move on. And I'm going to try not to let that happen again, because we don't want to have negative feelings towards food either. Any other questions, Anne?
What? Yeah, I do have two. Is yogurt okay?
Yeah. So of
Okay.
course. So well, I should say it depends. So yogurt, there are lots of different kinds, and some of them are full with sugars and some of them aren't. And like a Greek yogurt is going to be better. I happen to like Oikos Zero, that seem to have a lot of flavor. There's protein in it. But if you're picking up just one of those sugary yogurts, then no. And in our personal meeting, we can go into more about like what's good and what's not. But
Okay.
yogurt's absolutely. And again, if you're doing a Greek yogurt, let's say you're determined, like, this is a good yogurt for me, and I'm going to have that. And there's protein in it and maybe a little bit of fat. So we're going to add some vegetables. We're going to add something to that, so that you're still thinking about going back to that plate method and getting some vegetables in with that, or there's usually protein. And if not, that's okay. With a yogurt, it's a little bit more balanced with your, if you're not getting those vegetables in, but it's certainly something you can think about. But so
Okay.
that's a depends. And again, if people who have a dairy intolerance, I would say no. And what I mean by that is if it upsets your stomach, and sometimes people just get like a phlegmy kind of thing, that would probably be an indicator that you have some sort of intolerance to it. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian, I'm just somebody who has a little bit of information. But those are the kinds of things. Bloating from a yogurt from dairy may be an indicator that you shouldn't be eating it. But if you don't have any issues and it's a clean-ish version, clean version for yourself, then no problems.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said you had a few.
And when should I use collagen? Like I was thinking about today. I've already had my scrambled eggs and my one piece of toast, but then there's a long period of time before 6:30. So I'm thinking, should I eat before then, or should I just do the collagen and maybe something else?
Yeah. So going back to, you probably want a midday snack. And so you can call it whatever you want. You can call it lunch, you can call it snack, you can call it whatever you want. But if you're hungry, you should be eating. And if you wanted to do collagen, there's protein in that. Many people put the protein into the collagen into like their coffee or tea, or just on the side. You can put it in anything, because as long as you didn't buy one with flavor, and that will help keep you full longer. But thinking about, okay, that's protein. And again, I'm going to have a snack. So I'm going to have some cucumbers and hummus, or some cheese and nuts. with that collagen, that will make a nice snack for you.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, but don't be afraid to eat, because you probably need that extra snack or meal in there. Yes, but the collagen,
Okay.
yeah, the collagen too, like if you find that you take it in the morning, your breakfast you might feel full longer, but don't be afraid of another snack.
Okay.
Like I said, you can call it whatever you want. Sometimes I'm not in my kitchen, so I don't have it here, but like I'll eat on the smaller plates versus the bigger plates, because now this is my snack plate, and actually, you can eat dinner on that size plate too. You don't have to feel like you have to eat on a big plate, but just make up your snack on a small plate.
Okay.
Back to real quick, one of the things that popped into my head is like, how many times do we go to the grocery store hungry? And this goes back to what Alex was saying. I'm pointing at you, Alex, like at your name, like you're sitting across from me. But if you go to the grocery store hungry, and I mean, how many of us can relate to this? It's like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. Right. And then it's in your cart.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, the grocery stores are used to things. There's nothing wrong with saying to somebody, oh, I didn't want this. And they will put it back on the shelf right where it belonged. You don't have to worry about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if something popped into your cart by accident, there's nothing wrong with putting it back. So don't go to the store hungry.
Absolutely not. I try not to anyhow.
Yeah, and that's where, like Alex was talking about before, having a snack just to make sure that when she got home, she wasn't starving. That's the same thing. If I'm hungry and going to the grocery store, like I'll have something to eat before I go, an RX bar or something like that will be a good something to keep you a little bit on track.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. If you don't have any other questions, I hope that for those of you who are watching this, if you're actually going through this and watching it, that we've answered some of these questions. I don't know. I hope so. If we did not address the questions that you might have had, please do not be afraid to reach out to us. Happy to answer any questions. You can do it in the group. If you are watching this because it's out in the world and you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're always here to help you. Cool. I froze. Anything else? Alex, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. It's kind of like what I do typically with boredom eating, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, just walk away. Telling you 2 burpees and you'll stop thinking about whatever it is you were about to grab.
I remember seeing you post that somewhere, like do 2 burpees or do 10. I was like, I don't know if anybody would actually do that, but I just thought it was funny.
It's going to take your mind off of it, that's for sure. I do like my new, anybody who has steps, I've done it recently where just to get a bolt of energy, how sometimes you have that like little energy slag in the afternoon, just go for a run up and down your steps, just once, maybe twice. That's it. Just go do it and you will find that energy. It's amazing. And water. So all right. Well, thank you for popping on, and I'll see you tonight. I'll see you tonight too, Alex.
Okay.
Either.
Thank you both.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.